Wait. I have to ask you something.
I know. You wanna ask me out? All the Foxy ladies love my accent. It drives them crazy.
Let's see what our favorite zombie has to say about this. Oh, that was kind of harsh. What about Jill? Ooh, what a bitch slap. Our poor little Carlos and his lousy dating skills. What a shame. Don't you think so? Let's just look at the evidence here. And by the way, I'm only talking about main numbered games, not spin-offs. Resident Evil 1. It's obviously the first one, so of course it will be talked about a lot. It's the one that started this Resident Evil type of survivor horror. You know, tank controls, fixed camera positions and pre-rendered backgrounds. And it received the remake treatment 2 decades ago when the remakes weren't so popular like these days. Resident Evil 2. Do we even need to talk about this one? You know it's gonna be popular forever. Bold move to remake it in Resident Evil 4 star gameplay was probably the best one in the gaming industry. It's an example of how remakes should be done. But even in PlayStation 1 days, Resident Evil 2 was the boss, a game that's gonna be hard to top. What about Resident Evil 4? So many ports, HD remasters and 2023 remake to top it all off. Can't decide if this or Resident Evil 2 is more popular amongst the public. Maybe this one, since this one started the idea of over-the-shoulder gameplay mechanic that was more welcoming to the players. Resident Evil 5 and 6. These two just went so far out of the traditional Resident Evil formula that you would think that the franchise would be dead and improperly buried. But not. They sold by a lot. And with Resident Evil 7 and 8, everything is still going strong and big, if you know what I mean. It's all cool and dandy, but where is Resident Evil 3 in all of this? Pretty much nowhere. I cannot remember it being talked about that much as the aforementioned popular sequels. Sure, after Resident Evil 2 remake we also got one for the Resident Evil 3, but it wasn't really that great. Because it turns out that the hefty chunk of the content was actually cut and the Nemesis battles are not really that great, so yeah. Let's face it, it's a cash grab and it should be released as a DLC for the Resident Evil 2, nothing else. So, is there no proper love for the original Resident Evil 3? I guess it's my duty to give it some then. Here is a brief history that none of you probably want, but... So, this is the period when Capcom probably gained a big chunk of money from the first 2 Resident Evil games, so they were doing several Resident Evil projects with different teams, if I'm correct. You know how it goes. You need to capitalize on a big PlayStation 1 fanbase, but also keep an eye on the emerging PlayStation 2 console. And you need to please Sega fans also, since you haven't given them anything for Saturn. How to do this properly? By making a proper confusion, that's how. Brace yourself for this, okay? Okay. Resident Evil 2's Sega Saturn port was nowhere to be seen due to insurmountable technical difficulties, so Capcom waited for Dreamcast to give something to Team Sega. That was supposed to be a new sequel, right? At the same time, on PS1 there was supposed to be a spin-off game with Jill Valentine as a main character and the story which events lead up to Resident Evil 2 story. But catch this, Sony had a limited time right for using Resident Evil 3 name, so guess what happened? Spin-off game became Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and the Dreamcast game became a spin-off called Resident Evil Code Veronica. How convenient. And yeah, don't forget about the Resident Evil 4, which development started around the same time.
This is Chopper Delta.
Anyways, back to Resident Evil 3. This one got the name Nemesis in the title. If you spell it backwards in Japanese, you would get the kanji Last Escape. Nah, just teasing. But really, this is supposed to be the last chance to evacuate this stupid Raccoon City before you become the feeble-minded walking corpse. Story elements of the first half of the game are happening before the events of Resident Evil 2, the actual outbreak and shit. And the other half is happening several moments after Resident Evil 2 ends. Probably. Don't ask me to find the middle of those halves, because I couldn't be bothered to figure out, I'm just too lazy. All I know is that Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a proper Resident Evil game. You have the stupid Raccoon City? Yes. Fixed camera and pre-rendered backgrounds that look awesome for the time? Of course. Animated door sequences? Absolutely. Mixing V to get high? To be fine? Yep, you know the drill. And let's not forget about the tank controls. But this time, our character can dodge enemy attacks and do quick 180 to run away if the situation requires that action to be taken. You will not only mix herbs this time, but gunpowders also. See this machine? This magical device will turn the powder into ammo. And mixing different types of gunpowder will make different types of ammo. From one standpoint, this is cool, but from another, it's just one extra tedious task to do to get ammo for the weapons, and one extra space to be taken in the small inventory. So inventory management is of utmost importance. Luckily, there are many big vaults scattered beside your trusty typewriters. The ones that save your untarnished bacon. Use that thing wisely. These vaults can store a lot of stuff, so fill them up with stuff you don't yet need. You might need them in the future. The game offers two difficulty modes. Easy mode for the lousy players like me and hard mode for those seeking the challenge. And let me tell you, easy mode is really easy. You immediately start with an assault rifle, 3-slot first aid spray kit, all 10 slots of inventory, and abundance of ammo in the vaults. The lot. Oh yes, you also have unlimited ink ribbon for unlimited saving, and mixing gunpowder gives you plenty of ammo. Zombies are slow, easy to kill, and killing Nemesis gives you absolutely nothing, so it's better to avoid him whatsoever. So, survival is not hard. You have plenty of weaponry to eliminate everything that moves. Easy peasy. Hard mode, on the other hand, is actually hard, but very rewarding. This time, with a lousy handgun only and so little ammo, you need to learn how to survive. Only then, Resident Evil becomes a true survival horror. You need to think strategically, managing the inventory with tight 8 slots, killing zombies only when it's necessary to preserve ammo. This calls for your immense tank control skills to navigate your runs between these creatures, trying not to get caught. Sometimes this can be sketchy when you cannot see what's going on in front of you, if the fixed camera position is kinda stupid. What about Nemesis? Even though it's not necessary, I would recommend you to kill him. Why? I'll say it in a minute. Hard mode also provides weapons like Mine Thrower, which is so cool. Launching a mine to an enemy to watch it blow them up. Very cool. I must admit, when I look at these CGI cutscenes, even from today's standpoint, they look awesome. Capcom learned a thing or two, so yes, love it. Check out this swarm of stupid zombies. Yeah, many of these undead creeps will roam the narrow streets of the stupid Raccoon City looking for fresh meat to chew on. Why is Raccoon City stupid? Well, because it just is such a stupid name. They could call it, I don't know, Opossum City or S.T.A.R.S City? Now that would be a cool name. S.T.A.R.S is my spirit animal. Nah, that would be Sloth. Or Winter Dog. Oh, never mind. The point is, it's a stupid city with a stupid name and a stupid map. It's supposed to be set in America, but name me one American city that has such narrow streets. Go ahead, I'm waiting. Yep, there is none. I'd be dying of laughter of eternal shame if somebody actually finds one and corrects me. This layout of the roads is more Japanese-like. Anyways, on to the zombies. They can be killed in case you didn't know. Use the weapon and free them of their misery. By the way, they can be tricky. These bastards are usually very slow, but at certain distance they suddenly speed up and before you know it, they're eating your neck for dinner. Were they given a small ray of AI sunshine upon their regressed brains? Maybe they were. Well, they're not the only ones. You know you have to have running zombie dogs, crows, sliding worms, big spiders, drain demons, head-slicing hunters, and so on. But there is one enemy that sends the chills down your little spines. Your arch nemesis. Big 7-foot or something like that Goliath that goes after any S.T.A.R.S member. After all, it's the only word that he can spell out. He's like an undead version of a fleshy Terminator. Just look at him. Tell me that this isn't the best boss enemy in any game ever. If you are within his grasp, he'll most likely kill you. If you are far away, he'll either shoot you with a rocket launcher, grab and throw you around with the tentacles, or run insanely fast after you. That bastard actually runs faster than you, so he'll most likely be able to hit you before you get a chance to run away. If you are playing the game on a hard mode, prepare yourself to kill the bastard, because he'll often drop some goodies. And believe me, you want to have those goodies. Especially the parts for assembling the new weapons. Assembling Eagle Pistol renders the handgun utterly useless, because it shoots at much faster rate, reloads even faster than that, and can provide a critical hit like a headshot to the zombies. It's an instant kill, like a Magnum, oh yes. The same goes for the shotgun. Assemble Western custom from the Nemesis gift parts and you can throw a shotgun in the bin. This one shoots faster and Jill can reload it Terminator style. Check it out.
It was Raccoon City's last chance. And my last chance.
Now when I think of it, I didn't even properly introduce the characters in the game. Well, we're in control of Jill Valentine, who makes a return after the events of Resident Evil 1. This time, she's dressed more casually, just what you need in a zombie-infested city. Instead of being suited up and protected with the uniform, she would rather have parts of the body exposed so the zombies can easily chew her. Oh well, who cares, it's just a game, not real life. Yet. But she's not alone. She'll be interrupted by casual appearances here and there by our favorite ladyman with an almost non-existent Spanish accent. Yes, we are talking about the irresistible hunk of man that is main attraction of all the Foxy ladies in the house. Our beloved Carlos. I'm glad that over time his stupid act will drop down and he will end up being a really nice, caring human being. I like that. If you play the game several times, but do the order of things differently, you will notice that some of the events will be different. And while I'm talking about Carlos, the first meeting with him can be different depending on how you play the game. For example, sometimes you'll encounter him in the newspaper office on the second floor while being interrupted by none other than Nemesis. I guess the space for the fight is too narrow, so let's just jump out a window and see what happens.
Ow, that killed!
Yep. Back alley trash will be a nice landing point. What can I say? Other times you'll meet Carlos in the restaurant, and guess who's there to interrupt this love at first sight? Yep, our beloved S.T.A.R.S shouter. You know what? Let's kill that bastard. Like this. Bam! Let's blow this place up. At one point, you can even play as Carlos when Jill becomes decimated by virus infection, which is cool. But if you want 2-disc multiple scenarios extravaganza, forget about it. Remember, this game was supposed to be a spin-off that became the third installment. They probably didn't think big about this game when they created it, but it's all forgiven because it has Nemesis. He's running like crazy. And yeah, Carlos is not the only UBCC mercenary roaming through the city. UBCC stands for Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service. That actually sounds very mouthful for the people under some organization doing supposed extraction missions. Except Carlos, there are Nikolai and Mikhail. You will encounter them in the trolley for the first time. And Mikhail is unfortunately wounded, while Nikolai, we cannot trust her, will come across our way here and there. You can immediately notice that he'll be an ass, but he'll get what he deserves. Don't worry. What about gameplay? Well, it's a tank control game, so if you don't like it, there's always a remake for you. But if you're familiar with the controls, you'll have around 5 to 7 hour long fun game to play. Yep, it's not very long, but I really don't mind it. Because when you become older, it becomes hard to play these longer games of today, so a nice little adventure is very much welcome in my book. You know, lack of time and usual stuff. There are plenty of weapons to choose from to assist you in eliminating threats of any kind, mixing herbs to cure you should you be injured, and all that accompanied by a really good atmosphere of a decaying city. Yep, that's Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. You will especially like the tune that plays while you spend your ink ribbon to typewrite your saving position. You never know what's coming ahead, so yeah, saving points are ideal to calm yourself for a brief moment before you carry on. The map of the city would suggest a non-linear approach to level design, but it's just an illusion. You really don't have much of a choice in choosing where to go. Okay, the choice can be funneled down to the order in which you will enter some of the locations that are colored dark blue on the map, but that's just about it. And the game has a little share of backtracking involved too, which is not something that I like, but it's more than a bearable ordeal. Along the way, it's cool to read all of these documents, usually scattered beside corpses. These provide further understanding as to what was happening in the Raccoon City, what their final moments were like before they died, or what's the real possible agenda behind this outbreak in general. When I was younger and I was playing this game, I didn't bother to read any of it, but nowadays I would read every single file. I was missing quite a bit of the story actually. The one thing that I would like this game to have is 2 words: proper puzzles. If you could even call them puzzles, this voltage adjustment to open the doors, or switching gears to drain the fountain, or setting these squares in 3 lines to match the sequence up there. These are just a little distractions to solve something. There's no mental challenge involved at all, which is a damn shame. Dino Crisis was out before this game, and that game has better puzzles, so there was no excuse. Not even a supposed spin-off excuse ain't gonna cut it this time. The puzzles in this game are just too easy. Another thing that I would like is a better impact of these critical choices. If we exclude some of the Nemesis killings in a certain moments on hard mode, these choices, like avoiding these sliding boxes from the trunk, are meaningless. No matter what you choose, the outcome is the same. There is no punishment or reward for choosing one or another choice. This is the part of the game that serves as a proof that some things were much better back in the day when it comes to gaming. This is something that would be offered as a $20 DLC shamelessly these days. Oh yes, I'm talking about Mercenaries, Operation Mad Jackal. When choosing a player, you will realize that these three fellas are familiar faces from the game. Yep, you have to choose between one of three UBCC soldiers, Carlos, Mikhail and Nikolai. Each one represents a different type of difficulty since the task is identical for all of them, to traverse from the trolley to the warehouse from the beginning of the game. Along the way, they're supposed to kill or avoid the zombies and rescue hostages if they so choose. So, the old-ass chief police officer Brian Irons implants the bomb on the mercenaries, and they have 2 minutes to finish the task, which is not enough. Fortunately, killing enemies and rescuing hostages replenishes seconds. It's even possible to earn even more seconds by doing multi-kills, like for example, shooting a barrel to blow up multiple zombies, or killing enemies in a rapid succession, which feels like doing combo killing. Of course, the tougher the enemy is, the more seconds you get, so Nemesis is worth a lot of seconds naturally. The same applies to the weapons. The less powerful weapons you use, the more seconds you can earn. And this is where choosing the mercenary comes to play. Carlos has 2 rapid firing weapons and some mixed herbs, so let's say he represents a normal difficulty. Mikhail has heavy weapons like shotgun, magnum and rocket launcher, and a little healing items, so he represents an easy mode. Nikolai. Now, he has a handgun and a knife and lots of healing aid sprays. He is the choice only for the expert players. Believe me, you need to master dodging and killing with a knife, which is immensely hard. Because a knife is a close combat weapon and it takes a lot of stab wounds to kill a mere zombie, let alone tougher enemies. Use the handgun to weaken the enemy and finish it with a knife, and rescue as many hostages as possible to get more ammo. There's no other way to win. Luckily, the knife brings at least 24 seconds per kill, which is the highest number of any weapon. I messed with the Game Shark cheats, and as you can see, I've raked a half an hour, which is cool. Anyways, when you finish, you're given a rank and a present from your old ass chief. You're given the money to buy weapons. These weapons have unlimited ammo and can be used in a new game plus, which is a nice way to increase replayability of the main game. This is very cool. But before I forget, there is yet another thing that Resident Evil 3 rewards you with for beating the game. This thing would probably also be included as a DLC these days if I'm being honest. I'm talking about access to the boutique. When you finish the main game, based on the performance, you're given a rank and a boutique key. So, what can you do in the boutique? Well, you can change wardrobe for Jill, from S.T.A.R.S and biker suits to Regina costume from Dino Crisis. Such a nice little thing to explore in the game. Little things like this are the one that makes the whole experience of the game much better. So, I think I've talked about Resident Evil 3 quite enough. I hope I've given it enough love so it doesn't become forgotten. Despite everything, this game is a really enjoyable experience. It's fun to play, it has the coolest boss fights ever, and in general, it has this Resident Evil magic that is kinda lost with Resident Evil 4 and later sequels. I mean, I remember when it came out that it was decently popular, but it just couldn't compete against the predecessor. Resident Evil 2, like I said earlier, is quite a beast of a game. Trying to outdo that game was downright impossible. Giant Bigfoot shoes to fill, so to speak. But when you ignore that, you are presented with a proper sequel that properly closes the trilogy. After that, it was evident that the change will emerge on the horizon. So there you have it. I hope you liked this video, and if you want more of this, like the video, comment and subscribe for more of the similar content. Until next time, kanpai! You know what's the scariest thing in this game actually? These godforsaken rusty doors. Would you like to place your innocent hands on these rusty knobs? Me neither.